Good morning, Dad.
Good morning.
We're here today because we're going to talk about your wartime memories.
Oh, good.
So first of all, we're going to do a little brief introduction just to say when you were born, which was the 12th of June 1922.
That's correct.
And your parents were?
Stanley and Clara.
Stanley and Clara Hill.
Yeah.
And you're one of 4 brothers.
That's correct.
Stanley, yourself,
Yeah.
Frank and Arthur.
Yes.
And which school did you go to?
Oxford Grove Council School and then to Falls Road Central School.
And you left school at the age of, what was it? Was it 15?
15, yes.
15.
Yes.
And where did you go to work first of all?
I went to work at Musgrave's mechanic shop.
Oh.
And following that, I went to night school.
Yeah.
3 nights a week, and the teacher said, "Do you want to become a dressman?"
Yeah.
So I had to ask my father whether I could go as a dressman.
Yeah.
And he said yes, by all means. So I got a job at Robert's Patent Filling Machine Company as a dressman.
You did well there.
I did, yes.
And obviously when war broke out in 1939, this is World War II obviously,
Yeah.
you were 17.
I was 17, and there was a friend of mine at Robert's Filling Machine Company who wanted to go in the Navy.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll go in the Navy as well.
Yeah.
So in the lunchtime we went to Manchester to Key Street to sign on for the Navy.
Yes.
But because I was a dressman, they wouldn't have me, but they had my friend.
Right, were you too skilled? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So on the way back in Bolton, I called at the Royal Air Force recruiting office, and I signed on there, and they said they'd have me.
Good.
So that's how I got into the Air Force.
So you were age 18 then?
Yeah, I was, yes.
And your first place where you went to train was, just remind me where it was.
It was at Padgate.
Yes, which is Warrington.
Near Warrington. And it was very strict. The Royal Air Force, they caught me not wearing a hat going from the hut to the mess.
Yes, yeah.
And because I wasn't wearing a hat, I was put on what they call jankers.
Yeah. What did you have to do?
And I had to get up early, 6 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
in full uniform and parade.
Yeah.
And then at night I had to go and scrub the floor in the...
Right, all for not wearing a hat.
All for not wearing a hat. Well, you had to have a pass to get out of the camp.
Right.
And the passes were always signed with the time you're going out and the time you're coming in, you're allowed in.
Just a short period of time, was it?
Yeah. So we used to alter the passes. From the naffy, you could buy bottles of Milton.
Oh, right.
I don't know what the Milton was for, but
It
you
must
could
have dissolved it, perhaps.
You could buy bottles of Milton, and with a little paintbrush, you painted the time of your due to come back into the camp, and you altered it.
Right.
The Milton took the writing away.
Right, so you changed it to a better time.
We changed it for later on, and changed
so you're
the date.
having fun.
So, and when you came back, some of the people kept the passes.
Oh, did they?
Instead of handing them in.
Yeah.
They took them themselves, and then they altered the dates. So we were allowed out.
So you did 6 weeks, I think, fitness training, didn't you?
Yes, I did, yes.
And was that quite intense?
Very intense, yes. They're very strict.
Yeah.
and we had kit inspections and all sorts.
Was that a daily thing?
Yes, yes, yes.
And then after your fitness training, I think you had about 22 weeks training as, was it a mechanic?
As a mechanic, yes. At St Athan down south.
Oh, right.
In South Wales.
Right.
And we had to strip down an engine and then rebuild it.
Right.
And everything like that. So we had about a week on different parts of the engine.
And was this Spitfire engines or was it
Any engine.
any kind of aeroplane?
Yes. And we had to start up aircraft engines.
Mm.
There was aircraft there, and we had to spin the propeller
Yeah.
to start it, and it was good training, really.
Yeah.
They were very strict, though. I was posted to a squadron, and it was funny. We went to this RAF Atcham near Shrewsbury.
Yes.
And there was nothing there, just an open field
Yeah.
and a little hut in the corner of the field. And that was the RAF Atcham.
Right.
Within about a couple of months, the bulldozers came in, knocked walls down, ripped trees out, and made an aerodrome.
Right.
Yes. And
But then did you go down to the south coast?
yeah.
Because obviously the Germans were sweeping in across the channel, weren't they?
They were, yes, yes.
So what were you doing there?
Went to North Wales. Well, I was always looking after the aircraft engines,
Yeah.
doing servicing and...
And was that quite frightening if the Germans were sweeping in across the
Yes,
channel?
yes it was, yes. There was aircraft up above, dogfights and all sorts.
Yeah.
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 And
And what happened after that? Because you obviously moved. This was your big adventure. You were on the brink of a big adventure now because you moved north, didn't you, to Scotland?
yeah, so I volunteered for the servicing commandos.
Right.
Because I was a bit fed up of always being full of oil. It was like working in a garage, really,
Yeah.
looking after the aircraft. And
So when you got to Scotland,
when we got to Scotland, we got on this, we got on a boat and went to Ireland.
right?
And in Ireland there was this big troop ship.
Was it American troop ship?
Yes, it was
British?
an American troop ship. And
Right.
it was full of commandos and rangers and all sorts. And we were on 2 meals a day.
All right.
Yeah,
Limited rations then.
yes, yes. And then we sailed from Glasgow to Lochfine.
Mm.
And on Lochfine we did all kinds of route marches and climbing down nets on the side of the ship,
Yeah.
making landings,
Practicing.
and the army was firing guns over the top.
All right.
So it was really realistic. Yeah.
Didn't you tell me that your kit was also very heavy?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Well, when you're going down the side of a ship, climbing down the ropes and everything, one man was drowned.
Oh.
He fell in the water with all his kit on and a rifle, and he was sunk. He was drowned. Yeah.
So that was quite dangerous.
Yeah. Well, when you're going down the nets, and the boat you're going to land on is going up and down, you have to time it right.
Yeah.
So you leave the net into the boat.
And so you moved on, when you finally got on the ship and set sail, did you know where you were going?
We hadn't a clue where we were going at all through Gibraltar.
The Straits of Gibraltar.
Yeah, we were going through Gibraltar, and they told us we were going to Algiers.
Right.
And there's a big aerodrome at Algiers, and we went ashore, and the ships were firing over the top of us and everything.
Which ships were these?
These was the battleships,
Yeah.
the English battleships,
Right.
American ships. And we went ashore, and we went through a minefield.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Was that very tricky?
Yeah, it certainly was. And
what happened to the ship after you all got ashore?
the ship was sunk with all our gear on.
Oh, dear.
And it had me kit bag full of all the information about the engines and things like that.
Oh, dear.
All the stuff I'd gained. So we lost everything. So we went to an aerodrome called Maison Blanche
Yeah. In Algiers.
at Algiers, and aircraft flew in from Malta.
Right. Were these Spitfires?
Yes, Spitfires and Hurricanes,
Right.
and they'd all long-range tanks on. So I had to remove these long-range tanks, and then the aircraft could fly off and do the job. They didn't like us invading their country.
No.
So these tanks came up anyway. I think it's signed.
So they didn't recognise you as allies then, the French?
No, we were invading.
Right.
But I forget who it was now. One of the French leaders signed a petition to say it was okay.
Yeah.
So the tanks went away.
Right. And were there any casualties at this time in Algiers?
Oh yeah, lots of casualties, yeah. And the day before we moved to another front line, our commanding officer said you can go into Algiers and anything you see you can have.
Oh. So what did you have?
So we saw this car, a Renault car,
Yeah.
and one of the lads' father had a garage up north.
Yeah.
So we got in this car and he got it going.
Right.
So we toured around Algiers in this car. But next day we were on parade,
Yeah.
and an Air Force officer come driving up in this car.
He'd taken it from you.
He had, yeah.
Oh my
Well, we
goodness.
left it full of petrol once.
Yeah.
We don't put 100-octane fuel in it.
Right.
Yeah, so we toured Algiers, and we called it a bar and had a drink of wine.
So you did have some fun while you were in Algiers?
Of course we did, yeah. Well, you could be killed tomorrow,
Quite.
so you had to make the
Quite,
best of what you got.
Yeah, and you were only 18, 19 at this stage. You were still quite young, still
Yeah.
a teenager.
Yeah, that certainly was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So what happened when you found out you were going to move on from Algiers?
well, we went to Schuylkill Harbour, another forward aerodrome.
Yeah.
And we serviced Spitfires and Hurricanes and any aircraft that flew in at the Schuylkill Harbour. It was a forward aerodrome,
Yeah.
and there were dogfights and bombs and all sorts. And
So did you actually see some of the pilots being killed?
oh yeah. And there was one Spitfire on fire, and the pilot was still strapped in.
Oh,
So the officer said, shoot yourself to the pilot,
right.
which he did.
Yeah, very sad. Because you were all friends, weren't you?
Yeah.
You all knew each other well.
Yeah.
And so when you had to leave North Africa, where did you go next? Was it Sicily?
Yeah, went to Sicily, invaded Sicily.
Yeah. Did you go, obviously, how long did it take you to get to Sicily?
Well, we camped overnight in a field of rubble without blankets or anything.
Right.
And the next day we got on a troop ship
Right.
to sail to Sicily.
Yeah.
And the weather was terrible. It was big waves and everything.
Oh dear.
And everyone was sick.
Yeah.
Even the crew of the ship
Right.
was sick.
Right.
It was really rough. Anyway,
I bet you're glad you didn't join the Navy.
no. And then early that morning, everything went quiet and the sea became like a duck pond for the invasion.
Oh right, so it was all
So
on your side.
yeah,
Conditions were good.
Yeah. So we invaded Sicily
Yeah.
and
Did anything dramatic happen then?
there was a bomb dropped next to me.
Oh, on Sicily?
Yeah. This bomb dropped and I was on the edge of the crater.
Crikey.
It just missed me.
Yeah. And did you see any of your friends injured with this bomb?
Yeah, there was some killed. Yeah. Yeah.
So you were lucky there.
Yeah.
In September 1943,
Yeah.
you moved from Sicily. I think you went into Italy.
Oh, we did, yes.
Yeah.
And they wanted, RAF wanted to have athletes in a race in Rome.
Oh right. Yeah.
So I entered for the races for the RAF.
Right. Was this a marathon or a cross country? What kind of a race was it?
Cross-country race.
Right.
And we had trials at a place called Foggia in Italy.
Right.
And I was picked
Oh God.
along with some other people from our unit. So we entered in the race in Rome.
Right.
It was a cross-country.
Yeah.
And I think there was about 500 people in this race. Army, Navy,
Yeah.
Air Force,
Yeah.
and I think we came about 43rd.
Right. But you enjoyed it.
It was really good, yes.
And did you do a lot of running as your training, or did you?
Yeah, every morning we went running.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Taffy Roberts,
Yeah.
he used to go running every morning when we got up.
And he's remained a lifelong friend. Sadly passed away now, but he was a lifelong friend, wasn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah. And you went running every morning.
Yes, that's right.
So when you got into Italy, I think there was some kind of illness, was there, with the unit? Was it malaria?
Yeah, malaria and other illnesses. But
Yeah.
people went down.
Jaundice, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, jaundice, and they had to stay in camp all the time.
Did you have a good medic?
Oh yeah. But they went hilarious somehow. It was very funny.
Oh, delirious.
Yeah. And there was one place. Anyway, the ships were firing the guns over the top of us. And every 3 or 4 shells was lit up so they could see where they were landing.
Yeah.
And they kept going over the top of us. I thought, I hope one doesn't drop.
You're laughing, I bet you weren't laughing at the time.
No, it was quite funny.
Yeah.
Very dangerous. That was Italy.
Yeah.
And we were then told we were going to go to Corsica.
Right.
But travelling across Italy, one of the lorries broke down, the gearbox went.
Right, yeah.
And also the commanding officer's jeep the gearbox went on his jeep.
This is the commanding officer, yeah?
Yeah.
So what did he do?
So he sent some of the sergeants to look for a jeep,
Yeah,
and they found an American jeep
yeah.
and took it to our camp and switched all the numbers
Oh,
from the American jeep to the British jeep,
yeah.
and then told the British jeep to a quarry and dumped it down the
Right.
quarry.
So this is amongst friends. Friends and allies.
So we had this American jeep.
Right,
We changed all the numbers on the jeep,
yeah.
so it was like our original one.
And what happened to your lorry? On
Now the lorry, we were going to Corsica, and because I was always seasick
Yeah,
on the water, I thought I'll change the gearbox on the lorry
yeah.
whilst we were going to Corsica
Right.
to keep me busy. So I changed the gearbox on this lorry on the way to Corsica.
And did you have an assistant to help you?
Yes, I had another man helped me change this gearbox, and he was in the cabin holding this gear stick as I dropped the gearbox, and he let it go and it just missed my head.
That's quite frightening.
Yeah, and we were on board ship this on the top deck of the liner.
Right, so you
Anyway, we
got
changed.
to Corsica.
Yeah, we got to Corsica, yes, and
What happened in Corsica?
we were seeing 2 aircraft flying from Italy to Corsica and Corsica back to Italy.
Right.
Spitfires and Hurricanes and
Were you making sure the engines were good?
yeah.
Didn't you say you had to start up the engines, obviously, when they were due to take off and then the pilot jumped in?
That's correct. We had to get the aircraft ready for when the pilot jumped in.
Yeah,
So the engine was running,
yeah.
and we just strapped the pilot in as he climbed in
Right.
and took off.
And wasn't there a problem with the runway in Corsica? Was it Corsica?
Oh yeah, there was one place called Calvi on the other side of the island. The runway was very short, and it was always very windy,
Right.
and the aircraft had trouble landing and taking off. There were lots of accidents, so we kept busy all the time repairing aircraft.
Right, and were there lots of bomb raids?
Yes, every night there was a raid by the Germans.
And how did you feel, you know, in amongst all these bomb raids all the time?
Oh, it was frightening. But we had to get on with the job. It was just too bad if anything happened.
Was that the attitude, get
Yeah.
on with it?
Oh yeah,
This is what you're there for.
Yeah,
This is what
yeah.
you have to do.
Yeah, never bothered. Just get on with it.
Do you think it was because you were young, you were felt that you were...
Yeah, I think it was because we were young, yeah. And
You were doing a job for your country, obviously.
yeah.
Were you ever short of food?
Oh, we were always short of food. We used to have K rations.
K rations?
Yeah. There's were biscuits and a piece of chocolate or something like that.
What did you do
And
with
the
your
biscuits, I used to make porridge on it.
Right.
I used to break the biscuits up,
With water or
pour water on, and make it into porridge.
mushy biscuits?
Yeah.
And what, did you have an incident with a cow? I think I remember you telling me.
Yeah, we were in Corsica. And we were short of food, with no food or anything. So one of the blokes in his peacetime was a butcher.
Ah,
So he went out and killed a cow, put it up, and we cooked it, and we had meat.
did you share this cow?
Yeah, I don't want to farmer fault about this cow. There was one place where there was a stream from the mountains coming down. So we made a pool in the centre of the water, and used the sandbags, to make a dam.
Right.
And we were told off for using these sandbags.
Oh dear.
Because they wanted the sandbags in case of problems.
Yeah, yeah.
So that
So you were
was
continually trying to make the best of it, as it were.
Yeah, yeah.
And were you aware of what was going on in the rest of the world?
Yeah.
You kept up to date?
Yeah. We had a radio.
Right.
That we were told about all the different places.
Right, so when you finished in Corsica, you've mentioned obviously about the short runway and people having difficulty taking off and landing.
Yeah.
Where did you go to from Corsica?
Went back again to Italy.
Right. I think you talked about being billeted into a spaghetti factory, as a mate do.
Yeah. That was near Sorrento.
Right.
Our billets was an old spaghetti factory near Sorrento. And whilst we were there, I went into Sorrento, had a good look round, and also went to Naples.
Right.
Had a good look round in Naples, and also went to Rome.
Right.
And all the time we were hitchhiking.
Right. This is on your time off?
Yeah, with no buses or trains or anything.
So you hitch your way around?
Hitch our way around, yes. And then from there, we went by train to the other side, to Bari, the other side of Italy, and we pulled in at Naples station, and all the trains are end to end along the platform.
Yeah.
So you've got at the end of each train.
Joined on to the next one.
Yeah, and there was about 6 trains, all identical.
Yeah.
And our kit bags and everything, we left them on the train whilst we went for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And somebody shouted, "The train's going out." So we jumped on this train that was going out, and it wasn't our train.
So you lost your kit bag?
So we pulled the communication cord, got out of the train and walked along the track, back again to the station.
Right, and got on the right one.
And got on the right one.
You were full of mischief. So you heard, obviously in October 1944, that the Italy campaign was coming to an end.
Yeah.
And that what was going to happen to your unit?
Yeah, we were going to be disbanded altogether.
Yeah.
So,
how did you feel at that moment? Did you think?
Well, we thought we should come back to England.
Yeah.
We were all thinking we would be coming back to England. Instead of that, we were posted to Palestine.
Yeah. And this is at the end of the war, because by this time it was June 45.
We finished, yes. And at Palestine,
how did you get to Palestine?
We flew in the bomb bays of a Liberator.
Right.
They put seats in the bomb bay.
Yeah.
And we sat on these seats.
You couldn't see anything?
We couldn't see anything, except the gaps on the bottom of the plane, and you could see the seas.
Beneath you.
So we flew to Palestine.
Right.
And what do we do in Palestine?
Well, in Palestine you then...
we're servicing Liberator bombers. And the bombers were flying from the Far East to the Middle East.
Right.
And then from the Middle East to England.
Oh, I see.
Taking troops.
Yeah.
People who were injured and things like that were in the Liberators.
And were you still with
And they flew to England. And some of the people got a lift to England.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they got on the thing.
Were you still with some of the people you were originally with by this time, or had they gone somewhere else?
There was 2 of us.
Right.
There was 3 of us all together who kept together.
Right.
And we started servicing these big Liberators.
Yeah.
Servicing the engines and everything. Yeah. And when you think you're climbing a big aircraft, big bomber, and you start the engines up, it's quite a thrill.
Yeah.
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 Anyway, that was it.
And obviously, as time went on, a few months went on, you eventually heard that you were going to be sent home.
Yeah.
Had you heard from your family during this time?
Very little, no. I had the odd newspaper sent.
Right.
Our Stanley sent me some newspapers. Right. I think that's all I heard from home.
Right.
And
which is a long time then
didn't know what was going on. No, it was funny.
And how did you get home? What did you have to do to get home? How did you get your way back?
Well, I kept going in transit camps, moving from one to another.
Right. Did you end up in France?
I flew to Egypt.
Right.
And from Egypt I went to southern France and got a train from southern France and went across France.
Yeah.
To Dieppe.
Yes, Dieppe, yeah.
And then got a boat from Dieppe to England. That was at the end of the...
and what was it like coming across the channel?
It was really rough, yeah. We were held up for a day because the channel was really rough.
And did your family know that you were due to arrive home?
They hadn't a clue, because with no telephones or anything.
No.
So they didn't know I was coming home.
And when you got to, was it New Haven, first of all?
Yeah, I went to New Haven.
And then I think you went up to Wolverhampton.
Went to Wolverhampton, got release money, and got a new suit. Had a lovely pinstripe type suit. Well done. Yeah. And a bowler hat. And
then
did
they give you a reference?
Oh yes, I got the reference, and I got back pay. And my parents didn't know I was coming home. And,
so your parents didn't know you were coming home?
They hadn't a clue, no. So when I arrived, my mother came to the door, and she was flabbergasted. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah. And then obviously you had to go back to work. Was your job held open for you?
Yeah, my job was held open for me.
Yeah.
So I went back to work.
How did that feel?
Well, it was really funny. I was quite happy in the job. But the works manager, there'd only one draftsman, and that was me.
Yeah.
And my board was next to the works manager's desk in his office.
Right.
So I was doing drawings from sketches and things like that. And the works manager was dictating to the typist.
So you're back to what you might call a normal life.
It was, yeah.
Because in a very short space of time, you came back in 1945, December.
Yeah.
By 1946, December, you'd met Mum.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'd got married.
Yeah. Well, we had a party when I got home. We had a party. And your mum was at the party.
Right.
With
Auntie Connie, was it?
Auntie Connie and Arthur. Because Arthur was going out with Connie at that
That's
time.
right, so your brother was going out with my mum's sister.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And your mum went dancing at the Pally,
Yeah.
old time dancing.
Right.
So they asked if I wanted to go with them.
Right.
So
All very formal.
I was a good dancer.
So
So I went dancing on a Thursday night to old time.
yeah.
And that's how I met your mum.
Right, and you married in December 46, and
Yeah.
by February 48 I was born.
That's right.
And Wendy 2 years later.
Yeah.
So you've now got,
Yeah.
you obviously had 2 children,
Yeah.
you had 6 grandchildren,
Yeah.
and you've now got 7 great-grandchildren.
Too many.
So what a fantastic legacy that is. And what do you feel now then about the war? Do you think it was character forming?
Well, I wouldn't have missed it.
Mm.
I think it did me good, really.
Mm.
I got to see the world, really, places I'd never think of going to.
No, obviously.
Yeah.
But was it frightening?
Oh, it was frightening, very frightening.
Mm.
I mean, there was one time when we were told the German paratroopers were going to come in and land. So we had to get ready for them.
Right, yeah.
And get all our ammunition ready and everything. Anyway, it didn't happen.
No.
We were lucky.
Yeah.
But when they came over at night, there were raids every night from the Germans, and they'd always dropped anti-personnel bombs. The big canisters of bombs, what they call butterfly bombs.
Yeah.
And the canisters blew open.
Yeah, and scattered.
And then the butterfly bombs flew everywhere.
Yeah, that's
They were
right.
anti-personnel bombs.
Yeah.
And some of the blokes were killed with them.
Mm.
And there was a camel we used for moving petrol and oil from one area to another, one dump to another, and the camel trod on an anti-personnel bomb and was killed.
Oh, right. Do you remember that incident?
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, we like to hear about the war now, and I think it's obviously your great-grandchildren are talking about World War II whilst they're at school now.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to remember, obviously, that you've got these medals as well.
Yeah.
And these medals, I think you explained to other school
Well,
children.
There's Germany one, there's an Italian one, that's the Italian one, that's the France one,
Yeah.
that's the North Africa one.
So from each country that you obviously were fighting in,
We got
you got a medal.
Yeah, and that strip there is because we landed, we were first day landing.
Oh, right.
That's what they call a clasp.
Yeah. And we've also got your release book here, which you've kept.
Yeah.
And I think I just ought to read out your reference
Oh.
for your release. It says, "This airman is honest, keen and industrious. His service trade has given him a wide experience of aero engine fitting and general fitting practice, which made him suitable for any similar job in civilian life, and will undoubtedly have benefited him for the job of a draftsman, which has been kept open for him." So I bet you were pleased with that reference.
Yeah.
We just need to say that obviously it's your birthday in 3 weeks' time and you will be 90.
Yeah.
So we're having a party, a celebration,
Yeah.
and we'd just really like to say thank you to you, because obviously all that work that you did in the war served the country well, but it also served your family well, because we're here today
Yeah.
to talk about it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dad.
Oh. That's the end.